recording is running. I'm just going to admit. Where has it gone? Admit. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for AGIL's second webinar of 2025. We're taking it slow this year. We're taking the scenic route. We're still, while we're waiting for everybody to join, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on. And could everybody please turn off their microphones and cameras? Thank you. And we are still in the process of letting everyone in. We would like to thank our sponsors, NORAD, SCOS, and Welcome. And we will be doing a Q&A after the presentation. So if everybody would like to familiarize themselves with the meeting tools, which you will find on the bottom right of your Google Meets interface, it's the grid of 9 dots. If you click that, you will find the Q&A. Please post your questions there rather than in the chat. And we will have a Q&A at the end after our presentation, which is this week by Nabil, Ksibi and Lombe Tembo of ORCID. Take it away, Nabil.
All right, thank you so much, Kylie, and thank you for the whole, AGIL team for organizing this and for this opportunity. This is a pleasure to be with you here. I have with me my colleague Lombe Tembo, who is our grant program officer and also engagement lead at ORCID. I myself, I'm Nabil Ksibi. I'm engagement consultant at ORCID as well. And today, so let me try to just drop the ORCID website on the chat box, so that you at least connect there and see if you have your ORCID record and basically navigate a little bit on the website. Hopefully you can have an idea on ORCID. For those that are already familiar with ORCID, please don't hesitate to open your ORCID record. If you have any question, please drop that in the chat box. If not, it's very easy to create an ORCID record. I mean, it's 3 steps. It doesn't take no longer than 1 minute to create an ORCID record. So go for it. And if you have also any other question related to creating the ORCID record, please drop that on the chat box. So without further ado, let's if you just close this window a little bit more here, and then here we go. So these are it's us, me and Lombe. So we'll be presenting today. For my part, I'll be presenting a little bit more about ORCID, what's ORCID, how ORCID is used in the publishing workflows, and all that. So starting from there, we'll be also talking more about how to use ORCID basically as an editor or as an author or as a researcher. And then Lombe will talk more about our global participation program, which is really focused on including low middle income countries and low income countries into our community of members, and bring this really global aspect that we want to reach at ORCID. So what is ORCID? ORCID is an independent nonprofit organization. It's open to all for participation. We have, I think, users and researchers and authors and contributors from all over the world, except like 3 or 4 countries where I think there is not much to do with research and maybe publishing. We launched the registry in 2012, and we have our values and funding principles that you can consult on our webpage. Just right on the home page, you click on the about section, and you can find the values and funding principles. We are committed to making fair data and aligning with fair data. FAIR, which is standing for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And for that, we are offering our public API data file openly and publish it annually, so that developers or any member of the community can use that for their projects, or for synchronizing data, or for pulling data from that file. So that's one thing that we are proud of. We are also having our source codes open on GitHub, so anyone can really contribute to the code of ORCID, enhance the code, or propose any modifications, etc. So if you have also any other feedback or comments regarding how ORCID is open, please don't hesitate to drop that on the chat box, or contact us for more information. Then we are 9.9 million active researcher or active user in the registry. I think the registry is holding more than 14 million users, but around 10 million of them are active. And by active, we really mean asserting affiliation, updating works, synchronizing publications, adding some keywords, adding biography, and all that interaction with the ORCID record, right? So it's not static ORCID record or an empty ORCID record. It's somehow dynamic in a sort of this assertions or connection to other systems, or the use in different editorial systems, basically. We have 6,308 active integration. So by that we mean that our members built an integration which allow basically synchronizing data, and by data I mean publications, and all pieces and objects that are related to the research cycle or the publishing cycle, can go from poster to a conference proceeding, to thesis and dissertations, to journal articles, to chapters, books. All of that can be synchronized with ORCID. And through those kind of integrations, right? So if you go to Scopus, for example, you'll find an ORCID integration there. If you go to Dimensions, you can find an ORCID integration that is functioning there as well. So that's some examples of ORCID integrations, right? We have, and we're gonna talk about that later, we have what we call the service provider certification, and we have a lot of open systems that are already certified. And if not, we are working on certifying them or enhancing the integration. And by systems or open systems, I'm referring especially to OJS, open journal systems, to DSpace for repositories, to Pure for as a repository system. And if you have a system that is used widely in your community or within a specific field, please let us know about that, and we can see how to bring that to the list and look how to integrate that. As per the community, we are 1,467 members around the globe in 63 countries. We hope to see more adoption in Africa. We are working on different consortium, national consortium and regional consortium. The recent one was worked out by Lombe, and thanks for that. And it's the Ugandan consortium. We are also working on some regional consortium in the West and in the North. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can, get more voices heard about the community, from the community at ORCID. So we provide three main services: the ORCID ID, which is those 16 digits identifier that are, as a reference or as a URL that you can use in your signature, for example, in emails, or you can transform to a QR code if you want, and attach it to a poster in a conference. You can add it to your business card if you have, or if you wish. So that's very much accessible, and it's sort of a registry where you can click on that link and you get directed to your personal ORCID record. We talking about ORCID record. So we have the ORCID record, which is a sort of a CV or profile connecting the ORCID ID, that is including the different sections related to your contribution to research or to publishing, including employment, education, funding, peer review, research output, or other metadata linked to other identifiers, as an example. And we have a nice set of APIs, application programming interfaces, that really allows any other system to connect to our registry, by very simple calls, API calls, either getting data, or pushing data, or reading data. So all that is working through this set of application programming interfaces. So this is sort of an explanation how the ORCID record is interacting with different other systems and different other, let's say, stakeholders. So if you can imagine that the ORCID record is like a container which having different sections, and each section can communicate with an institution or an organization. For example, the first one will be connecting to your institution, and that institution can get information from your ORCID records, where you were employed previously, the different affiliations that you had in your career, and etc. The second section is linked to the publisher, where the publisher can also get different data from your ORCID record, like the previous publications, previous articles that you published, etc. And then the third section is linked to the funders, where the funders can also pull the data and information that other funders put in your ORCID record, right? And what's interesting is that it goes the other way around as well. So your institution can assert your employment. So if you're moving to a new institution that is a member of ORCID, they can assert your affiliation into your ORCID record, right? Same thing with the publisher. As soon as you publish your article within the journal system, if that journal system is integrated with ORCID, that article will be pushed to your ORCID records most of the time instantly, right? It's very on a very quick way. And then the third section is with the funders, where the funder is also asserting your funding information related to your grant or your award into your ORCID record. But then it's also very interesting to see that all those components can communicate between each other. What does that mean? It means that the publisher can get information from your institution, through the ORCID records. They can know where you've studied, where you did your doctoral studies or postdoc studies, and same thing with funders as well. So funders really love this information that is coming from your institution or from the funder, or from the publisher, so that they build up their their assessment report, or submission, assessment, etc. So just to understand that it's very important to have an ORCID record filled with information, employment, achievements, and activities. All of that can really benefit the different institutions in the open infrastructure space. This is the ORCID record. So for those of you already having their ORCID record open, this is how it looks like. We have the biography section, activities, and then the different links that can be useful as well. So for example, these other links, you can find here the Scopus ID, you can find the researcher ID, you can even find some sort of other ID, or add any other ID that is important to you. If you have a specific publisher ID that you want to have, or you want it to be seen in your ORCID record, you can add it there. And of course, the country, email address, and we really encourage you to add more than one email address, so that if you lose access to your ORCID record, you can use an alternative option and an alternative email address, so that you can connect to your ORCID record. What else? Yeah, so this is on the left side, the summary, or record summary, where you can see here in the green check all the trusts markers that are in your ORCID record. For example, if a publication is asserted from the publisher system, it's gonna land with a green check mark, because the source of the assertion is trusted. And from that point, we started calling them trust markers, right? It's giving more credibility and more trustworthiness to your ORCID record. Of course, we are trusting our researchers, and our researchers are all in the center of all what we are doing. But sometimes other systems and other let's say institutions or organizations would like to see from where this information is added to your ORCID record, right? So we've added this trust markers functionality, let's say, or feature, so that we help in building this or reinforcing trust in integrity in the open research space, right? Yeah. If you have any question about the ORCID record, please feel free to go through ORCID, open your ORCID record or create it, and then drop us the question in the Q&A box. Yeah, so it's very easy to switch from the actual ORCID record view to the summary, record summary, and expand it. So if you want to share a screenshot on the ORCID the record summary with your publisher or your funder, with your university, it's going to be very easy to export from there. And then you can use it really on the go within any submission files that you want, or you can print it out. So it's very handy and easy to share. So at this point, I think it's great to also remind everyone about the vision and mission of ORCID. So the vision of ORCID is still the same since 2012. It's a world where all who participate in research, scholarship, and innovation are uniquely identified and connected to their contributions across disciplines, borders, and time. And then the mission of ORCID is to enable transparent and trustworthy connections between researchers, their contributions, and their affiliations by providing a unique persistent identifier for individuals to use as they engage in research, scholarship, and innovation activities. So think of ORCID as the unique identifier for people, right? We have other identifiers for objects like GOIs, archive IDs, etc. And we have other identifiers for places like ROR ID or ISNI or Ringgold. So all those are identifiers for institution or LEI ID. So all those are identifiers for organizations, institutions, and places. ORCID is specifically for people. So as we talk about PIDs, what are they and how they are working in this whole ecosystem? So a PID is a persistent identifier. The abbreviation is PID. It's very easy to also retain as well. It's globally unique. So if you're talking about DOIs, we are asserting or creating a DOI for an object that would be identifying that object for long term. Same thing for ORCID, same thing for ROR IDs for institutions. We are also talking about persistency. So the P in PID is really proving that this persistent identifier will stick around, so they'll not be reassigned or technically fail at a point. So that's the promise from the service providers and the open research infrastructure, is to really offer this sort of identifiers for people, places, and objects, so that contributors, researchers, authors, and editors can use that along the process, and for a long time. It's resolvable by humans and machines. So if I click on an ORCID record, I can read what's in a record, right, as a human. And because we have a registry behind that is operated with an API, an application programming interface, the machine can also read that information. And by machine, we are referring to systems, repository systems, journal systems, funding systems as well. So all these can really connect to the ORCID registry and pull metadata from there or assert metadata from there, and really benefit of all the data that is in the ORCID registry, right? And that's somehow really realizing the FAIR promise, right? FAIR data promise. Now, if you talk about how PIDs can help in the whole research or editorial cycle. So PIDs can provide clarity, right? If you identify persons, objects, and from where this person and this object is coming, then it's giving more clarity into understanding how to interact with this person or with this publication, on the run. PIDs facilitate sharing, reusing, and attribution of objects or IDs or institutions on the whole process. So you can build up reporting if you are a funder. You can build up not only funders, but also publishers and organizations can build up reporting and dashboards out of the ORCID information. And PIDs enable also automation and interoperability, right? So it can save a lot of money when you are adopting PIDs. That's allowing entering the information once and then reuse it often, right? The author or the researcher or the editor will have the possibility to do that, to really avoid entering their information and their data again and again, and that's really a loss of money and time, right? For especially in the research and editorial landscape. So these are some examples. We talked about ORCID as a identifier or PID for researchers or authors. For places, we have ORCID, and for things and objects, we have GUIs. And now we are including Crossref grant IDs and RAID into the registry. So RAID is also another persistent identifier for projects. So if you're interested in that, just type in raid.org and then dive into their website. They have some nice information and some nice data to share on the projects and how to assign projects and identifiers linked basically to ORCID and to different other systems. Yeah, so this is also showing again how organizations can interact with researchers and the funding or funding institutions, and the funders can interact with the research outputs, like for example where we have in the within the publishing systems. Yeah, so PIDs enable entity in the research ecosystem, like people, places, and objects, to be uniquely identified and connected, and to create this reliable link between them. And when using PIDs, metadata about organizations, people, and objects flow reliably between systems, platforms, forming these building blocks of an open research infrastructure. So as you can see here, these are Crossref and DataSite, and they are service providers, let's say, or open research infrastructures, and they are providing identifiers for objects, or what we call GUIs. So the distributed trust model for ORCID, and we'll see how it really fosters a community-driven solution for research integrity. We have some things into actions. We've put some things into actions. Some of them are related to Act consensus statement, where ORCID is closely involved in workstream 4 to enable development of trust markers. ORCID is also collaborating closely with STM Solutions, the Integrity Hub, and Research Identification Working Groups. And we've made ORCID record summaries, the ones that we saw earlier, available in editorial workflows with multiple publishers and vendors. And a lot of them are appreciating that the fact that all this information is, can say condensated or, put together in one simple form so that they consult it easily and quickly. These are the trust markers. We've talked about that. So here on the right, we can see an assertion from the University of Oxford, with their integration. The second one is an assertion from the American Heart Association. So all of them is with a trust marker here. It means that the assertion was done through the organization system. And then this is the record summary, in details. You can check in your ORCID record how it looks like and give us feedback on that. And some, let's say, proofs that researchers and authors love ORCIDs. So, of course, why? Because research information is very much accessible in ORCID. It's uniquely yours. So if you have multiple ORCID records, please try to put them together, or remove the duplicated records. So it should be uniquely or merge them together. It should be uniquely identifying yourself, basically. It offers name flexibility. You can add all the different writings of your name in your ORCID record. And it offers more time for research, and it reduces administrative burden, and also it controls your visibility and discovery. So every section in the ORCID records, you can control the visibility there, either visible only to you or to everyone, or only to trusted parties, just to understand that ORCID is also compliant with and aligned basically to different data privacy and personal data policies, acts like GDPR or US Privacy Shield, or in South Africa, the POPI Act, etc. The data is very much portable, so you can export everything in your ORCID record and you reuse it anywhere else, right? And these are some tweets. As we said, some authors and researchers really love ORCID. So this example is showing how a scientist or an author is asking about, in the ideal world where all journals are using a single ID like ORCID, right? And yeah, I'm gonna share the slides with you just to discover more feedback and more tweets basically on that. And this is, the best one. We used that since we launched, where a researcher is saying that I'm the 38th author, and then other researcher is saying, no, that sucks. But then he says, I didn't finish, I'm the 38th author called Wank, right? And that's true, because if we go to this publication, for example, and I think that's the publication that we are talking about, and you try to look for Dr. Wank, right? Try to collaborate, or for an assessment, or for anything like that, right? So that's not really pretty straightforward to find the person that you are looking for. And this is why ORCID is here, to disambiguate names of authors. Other use of ORCID, if I'm using my name in some journals with, I don't know, written like, this example, Karim bin Ramadan, I can use Ramadan, with DH. I can use it without E at the end. I can use it, without H. So especially, moving from Arabic to English, usually we are making some confusions, especially if you are thinking of writing it in French, with the French spelling, but in an English journal, so it's always complicated. So this is why, if you have your name written in in a specific way in a journal A, and another specific way in journal B, and another specific way in another journal. ORCID is federating all that in one place, right? So you use your ORCID record, is going to identify you no matter your name is written, no matter how your name is written. Organizations as well. So this is showing that organizations can know really the authors and know their contributors to that specific project, or to that research, or to that publication. They can have a better reviewer selection. As we said, by collecting all this data about the author or the researcher from the ORCID record, they can do better assessment. Peer review recognition as well. They can assert peer reviews to the ORCID record, and it's enhancing discoverability for researchers and staff faculty members, or authors, or scientists in that organization. It has also a more consistent experience, so that when linking the different systems together, you can really have a better overview and a dashboard where the information is coming from and where it's going, right? So it's better, like workflows for reporting, or for creating dashboards at the end of the year, or to follow up on some specific projects, or the adoption of something, or uptake of open science, for example. I mean, just saying. Strengthening research integrity as well. So we talked about that with the trust markers, and the fact that ORCID is also a trusted place by many funders and many publishers and organizations. The service provider certification. So I'm going to quickly share some names and some systems. In the manuscript submission systems, we have the ARIES system, editorial systems, and PKP, OJS, and OMS, and OPS. For research information systems, we have GSpace Quiz, InfoEd, Vidatum, Pure, OBD, which is in the Czech Republic, Omegapsir in Poland, Esploro, and this green one is the Tembo hub in South Africa. For grant facility and facility application management systems, we have the Proposal Central and the Cloud Plus AI. We are still working on with some service providers for repository systems, and we have some candidates for the discovery systems as well. So now I'm gonna hand over to Lombe. Hopefully she can participate as well, because she was having a dentist intervention today. So Lombe, can you take over?
Yes, Nabil, thank you so much.
Great. So you tell me when you want to move the slide.
Okay, yeah, you can move to the next slide.
Cool.
Great. So I think a lot of what Nabil said has been about all the benefits of what ORCID does and what we've been doing over the past years. But another issue is that we're trying to increase the adoption of ORCID in underrepresented communities. And because of this, we've introduced what we're calling the Global Participation Program. And this has two prongs to it. And the first one is the Membership Equity Program. And the second one is the Global Participation Fund. Next slide, please. So the Global Participation Fund, has two very distinct grant programs. The first one is for the community development and outreach, and this is basically to fund local partners who are trying to build ORCID communities of practice in their specific communities. And we also have the technical integration grants. And these ones are basically to fund development of systems that can then drive participation in the global south. And I'll give an example of one of our technical integration grants because of the type of people we have on the call. Excuse me, but one of these is a project that we had that was improving the login into DSpace Chris. And I can share the link to the information on the project, but basically that's an example of how technical integration grants are improving the use of ORCID in our underrepresented communities. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just a bit more detail about these grant programs. With the community development grants, these ones are really to build community practice. Nabil earlier mentioned how we've recently launched, it's actually launching tomorrow, but our ORCID community of practice, our ORCID consortium in Uganda, this has grown from a grant that they applied for a while back, and they've used that to sort of build up on, to increase awareness and to basically put in the systems that would allow them to then launch their consortium. So it's actually launching tomorrow, and we're very excited about that. And also, these grants are to support communities, and this is also local outreach, trainings, and also tech support resources just to create and grow ORCID consortia in the focus communities. Sorry, I think some people can't see the slides. I'm not sure what is going on. Probably a technical issue. Okay.
It's displaying for me, so it might be a local connection issue for some people.
Right. Okay. Okay. I will continue. So I think the other grant programs are the technical grant integration grants, which I gave an example of. And these ones are for things like building integrations, building utilities, and support use. And that's things like building or updating ORCID integrations in open source systems. And also just creating and improving open source components, libraries, or also resources that will enable or facilitate ORCID participation for those who are in our focus communities. So I keep talking about the focus communities, but next slide, please. These are basically, as we follow what the World Bank classifies as low income communities and lower middle income communities. Those are who we refer to as our focus communities. And in terms of the structure of the program, it supports the diversity of grantees just to spread the risk and increase the chance of positive outcomes. And we have about 2 grant cycles per year. The first one has just completed, but we have another round of another cycle that will be live around October. We also have about 5 grant cycles 5 grants that we give out per cycle. And in terms of the funding awards, this is between $5,000 and $20,000 US per grantee. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as I said earlier, there's a link there with more information about our Global Participation Fund, but basically the next cycle is opening around October 2025, and this will be shared on our socials. Thank you, Nabil, for sharing that link, but this will be shared on our socials and on LinkedIn. So if there are communities that are interested in this, please do check out the eligibility criteria. Bit of a mouthful, but yeah, so you can check all of that when you follow the link that Nabil shared. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I spoke a bit about the GPF, which is the Global Participation Fund, but I'll also talk a bit about the Membership Equity Program, which is a discounted membership structure for consortium members. So if you're trying to build a consortium in a low-income country, then it would attract an 80% discount. And for lower middle-income countries, that would attract a 50% discount. Also, ordinarily would need 5 organizations to come together to join to create a consortium. But under the membership equity program, there's a lower threshold of 3 members for the initial year, and then they can, it would give them time to get more members in subsequent years. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I think a bit of an overview of what we've done so far. We launched this in the year 2022, and so far we've given out at about $465,000 US, with 26 grantees being supported around the world. We are currently representing 17 countries, and this is spanning across Africa, Asia, America, and Europe. So I did mention that this is for our focus communities who are in low income and lower middle income countries, but it's also important. It's important to note that some grantees have the benefits of their projects being experienced in other countries. Just like the DSpace CRIS project, the applicants were actually from Germany, but the benefits were being felt in all these different countries. Next slide, please. So this is just an overview of some of the grantees that we have funded in the past. But like I said, there are quite a lot, and we've got quite a bit of information on these on our website, because we've detailed the work that they've done and some of the impacts that they have done through their projects. And I will share that link separately as well. Next slide, please. I think that's actually it. Yeah, that's actually all from me. And thank you so much for your time. I realized that there were some questions in the chat, some of which I addressed already, but I think we can move on to that. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Lombe, and thank you, Nabil. Right, just a reminder to everybody to fill in, please, the attendee survey, the link of which I have posted in the chat and pinned. And indeed, we do have some questions. I just need to find where they are. Some you have, I believe, Blanche Pretorius, your question has been answered. The first one is from Anonymous. Just to be clarification, ORCID is the name of the organization, and the 16-digit PID is called the ORCID ID, correct?
Yes, yeah. So ORCID stands for the Open Researcher and Contributor ID, and the ID itself is the 16 digits.
Righto, thank you. The next question is from Richard Zidana from Malawi. As you indicated, when a new article is published, I expect the update on the profile to be done automatically. That hasn't been the case with his ID. Is it an issue of settings? How do we fix this?
So to have the ORCID records updated automatically, you should be having connections with different systems. For example, your institutional system, or your publisher editorial system. Anyway, so just to share a very simple example. If you go on Zenodo and drop there your articles, so Zenodo is an open repository led by CERN, and because they have this sort of partnership with DataSite, or DataSite is the GUI service provider, you can see actually your publication flowing into your ORCID record automatically, right? But the source of the assertion will always stay as Zenodo or DataSite. It's not going to be specific to the field that you are working on. For example, if you have an article related to mathematics or related to history, it's not going to be shown as the specific journal where you did your publication, right? It's just going to be a generic Zenodo or DataSite publication. So that's just to really explain briefly what's an automatic assertion to your ORCID record. Otherwise, we invite you really to fill that, manually if you have any missing publication and you have the DOI there, or at least some couple of metadata that you can use to add that information. Please do that manually, right? Otherwise, just please write to us and tell us which institution you would like to see, asserting this information automatically, right?
Thank you very much. Another question from Sintayehu from Hawassa University. Is it possible to print review certificates from ORCID?
Review certificates. Yeah, that's a tricky question because if you are talking about peer reviews and that process, the known process, the blind or double blind peer review process, you can have that assertion in your ORCID records, and it's going to be with the trust markers. It's going to be with the green check as a trust marker, but I don't know if there is a specific certification related to that. I'm not sure about the information, but the fact that you will be having your peer review asserted or linked in your ORCID record, that's I think a mark of trust, right? But if you have, if you have any ideas related to that, please write to us, and we can take that further. But interesting question, yeah.
Okay, we have so the questions are coming in thick and fast. For another anonymous question, ORCID is the unique identifier for people, but as an organization, how can an organization participate in this?
Yeah, for organizations, we've shown that we have this sort of specific identifier for organizations, which is the ROR ID. So you can really check in the ROR registry if you have your organization there or not. Just simply go through ROR.org, Research Organization Registry, and then type in your organization's name and check if your organization is there or not. Otherwise, you can write to them and ask them to include your institution, right? So that's a specific identifier or persistent identifier for organizations.
We have an anonymous question. One of our attendees is I believe based in East Africa, and they ask, please, is there any ORCID member from Tanzania near Uganda? And if not, what can I do to engage my friends in this area? And I wish to engage in training researchers in my country.
Yeah, please write to us. We are welcome, especially with Lombe, we are working on more adoption in the whole continent, East and West. In Tanzania, we don't have any member yet. We've had some conversations with EASTICO, I think, which is some sort of a regional funder there. We have some members in Kenya, Uganda. We are working on a consortium there. But yeah, please feel free to write to us, and we can engage more on further adoption there. And Lombe, if you have any additional or specific information, please add it to the response.
Nabil, not really. I think you covered it really well, but I also just wanted to add that something else that we are hoping for eventually is a regional consortium in Africa. So please be on the lookout for that. It might be easier for some organizations if that was the case.
Yeah.
And finally, once an article has been published and registered with Crossref, the ORCID profile of each author is automatically updated. However, when the article is withdrawn, corrected, and then republished, how does the individual delete the original article from their profile?
Oh yeah, so it's very simple. The assertion in the ORCID records can be deleted and not modified. So you have really the total freedom to delete anything from your ORCID records, but not to modify it. So for example, Crossref is asserting publication version 1, and then there were some modifications or some retraction, or reviews to have another version 2. You should be having them, under the same, section or under the same publication, but with different versions, right? So you can go to the previous version and then delete it from the ORCID record, and then keep only the actual or the most updated version. Usually, there are some systems that are also integrated with GUIs and Crossref GUIs, and that are doing this automatically. It means that they are updating the same version before ascertaining to the ORCID record. But you have to check that. I mean, it really depends on the system, because Crossref is integrated with OJS and with different other systems, and each and every system is having a certain workflow, right? We all agree that we should have the same metadata structure for every publication, which includes, the version item as well in the metadata. But there are some systems that are not performing like other systems, so you have to really manually check the different versions of your publication in a record, right? And delete, unfortunately, manually the extra version.
Right, thank you very much. Okay, one last question, and as we are running out of time, if anybody else has an issue pertaining to their specific ORCID record, I reckon it would be a good idea to get hold of ORCID. If you have questions about either of the two presentations today, please contact Nabil or Lombe. And if you have questions about anything to do with Agile, please contact info@agile.info or applications@info.agile. Agile.info. Sorry, everybody, it's been a long week. So our last question: what challenges do researchers face when adopting ORCID, and how can these be addressed?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, we are trying.
It is a very big question. A very big question.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yes.
the reason why we are here. That's
Yeah.
So we are trying to make it very easy and user friendly to use ORCID as much as we can, no matter where you are from and no matter which discipline you are in. We should be presenting a product that is very much understandable and very much easy to use in terms of accessibility. The ORCID record itself, the colors, the how it's written, the content and everything. Right? We're really trying to work on, and we have an excellent product team and UX designers that are working on enhancing this experience, right? On the other hand, there is also some language barriers, right? So if you don't have the language and the language selection when you are opening your ORCID record, you might be somehow lost. But we have, a big list of languages there. We have some good translations from Arabic, Turkish, French, Portuguese to Mandarin, Korean. We have some great stuff there. You can explore that. But if still you still have some accessibility issues and some comprehension issues, please write to us, because we are looking. We are really looking at those feedbacks, right? We reached a point where we are trying to improve. I'm not going to say to the perfection, but we are trying to improve the ORCID record and the ORCID experience as much as we can for the global community of open research and open science contributors.
Thank you. And that's a wrap, I think. Thank you so much, representatives of ORCID that came to do this webinar with us and answer all manner of questions. There are quite, I think you'll be getting quite a few emails. And yes, thank you so very much. So very, very much. And I will refer any further incoming questions that do not reach you to you, because it seems like there is a lot of interest in this topic. Right. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us, and have a safe week further.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Kylie, and thank you, Agile team.